Alright, this video is to talk quickly about how we graph tangent. So when graphing tangent, we're going to use the same variables as we used in our sine and cosine. So our function y is going to be equal to a times the tangent of b times x minus c plus d. Now tangent is different than sine and cosine because it does not have an amplitude. This a value is just a vertical stretch or shrink. The period for tangent, since the period of regular tangent is just pi instead of 2 pi, the period of tangent is just pi over whatever's in here as b. And then we do have to worry about the asymptotes. The asymptotes are every pi over 2 divided by b plus whatever c is. So we have to be very careful with that. And actually we'll make this n pi over 2 divided by b plus c so that there's more than 1. So let's look at negative 3 times the tangent of x over 4. Well, that negative 3 is a vertical stretch by a factor of 3. The negative means that I reflect over the x-axis. And then my b value is 1/4. So my period is pi over 1/4, which is 4 pi. And my asymptotes, we'll say asymptotes, is n pi over 2 divided by b. So every pi over 2 divided by 1/4, which means my first asymptote is at 2 pi. My next asymptote is at 6 pi. Or I had one before it at negative 2 pi because it repeats every 4 pi, so I can add or subtract 4 pi to get my asymptotes. So let's put in my asymptotes first. Negative 2 pi, positive 2 pi, 6 pi, which isn't on there. My x-intercept is going to be right in between those two asymptotes, so it's staying at 0. And then every 4 pi, so 4 pi. My vertical stretch, well, normally right in between the x-intercept and the asymptote is my point where I hit 1. Instead of hitting 1, I'm going to hit 3 since I stretched it by 3. But I reflected over the x-axis, so at pi, I'm going to hit negative 3. And over here at negative pi, I'm going to hit positive 3. And then we make our big squiggle. Oops. I struggle drawing these big ones. So that means at 3 pi, I'm going to have a positive 3 again. 0 at 4 pi, negative 3 at 5 pi. And a big squiggle here. There is my decent graph. For tangent of x minus pi over 2 plus 2, well, we're going to say, all right, what is our period? Actually, we'll just have a phase shift. We have a phase shift of pi over 2 to the right. Phase shifts are still going to work exactly how they did. We also have a vertical shift of up 2. Vertical shifts work the same exact way they did with sine and cosine. Our asymptotes are at x equals pi over 2 over b. Well, b is just 1, so I have x equals pi over 2. My period is just pi over b, which is just pi. So that means my next asymptote could be at negative pi over 2 or positive 3 pi over 2. We didn't change that. So let's put in our asymptotes first. Negative pi over 2. And every pi after that, so negative 3 pi over 2, negative 5 pi over 2, positive pi over 2, positive 3 pi over 2, positive 5 pi over 2, positive 7 pi over 2, 9 pi over 2, on and on. Now our vertical shift means that instead of thinking of crossing the x-axis, I would actually draw myself a line here at 2. And I'm just going to pretend that that line is my x-axis. And now we didn't change anything else about tangent. Just kidding, we did. I didn't draw on my phase shift yet. So I need to take everything I just drew and shift it pi over 2 to the right. Well, pi over 2 is 2 little notches. So everything I just drew is going 2 notches over, and we are going to ignore the green. All my asymptotes went 2 lines over on my graph because I was silly and I forgot to shift them. I'm still going to think of positive 2 as my x-axis though. So my graph, please remember that I am ignoring the green right now. Now regularly tangent crosses the x-axis. Well, we're going to think about this line at 2. Right in between my asymptotes. So I'm going to cross right here at pi over 2, 2. And normally tangent, 1 line over is 1 up, and 1 line over is 1 down. And I make a squiggle through that. We didn't change anything else about tangent, so that's what it's going to look like. And then we repeat that. And make my squiggle. And always fit as many periods of my graph as I can. Being careful not to cross those asymptotes, except maybe with the arrowheads. And let's draw some on this side. And there's our graph.